Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kuskus. If you're new here, if this is your first or second time, you should consider subscribing to the channel. Also ring the notification bell so that when I post you will be the first to know. So today's video is going to be about managing your time in grad school for productivity. Okay, I've had a lot of messages from new students who have been complaining about being overwhelmed. Oh, there's so much information to take in, and I completely understand. So this video is going to give you some tips on how to organize your time, how to manage your time so that you will not be overwhelmed, because it is going to be very cumbersome and you need to be very strategic and intentional if you must get the best out of it. So if you know that content like this is going to be of help to you, then you definitely want to keep watching till the end of this video. So I hope that it's going to be very helpful, and I hope that you would like it, and you would also drop some comments below to let me know if the video is helpful. Okay, let's get the video started. The very first thing I have on my list here is that you should have a routine. Develop a routine, develop a schedule or a calendar. Use your calendars, your reminders, your task managers. I have made a video talking to you about the apps that I think will help you guys. If you haven't watched that video, you should watch. But there's one thing about developing a schedule. For instance, you have now, I want to believe you have now selected your courses, you have gotten all your modules approved, so you have seen your timetable, you know how many classes you have in a week per course, you know your routine. Are you going to be going to school? Are you going to have online classes? I want to believe you have this timetable. You know, even if not at the tip of your fingers, you have written it out and you have it clearly. So walk around your timetable, develop a routine for yourself following your timetable. Everything need not be the same every day, because if you have 3 classes today and you don't have classes tomorrow, then the to-do list or your routine for those 2 days are going to be different. So what am I saying? Know yourself. Are you a morning person? Are you an afternoon or evening person? Or are you even a midnight person? When are you going to be studying? When is your study time, private study time? Because usually you're going to study before the class and you're going to attend your classes, and then there's going to be a little chit chat, especially if you're going to school, if you're going on campus to have your lectures, you're going to have a little chit chat, meet your friends, your colleagues, your professors, and thereafter you have to go back home and decide if you're going to study or you're going to go through what you have learned in class, refresh your memory, make your notes, and prepare for the next class. So that's a lot of things to do in a day, and if you're not intentional about it, you may lose a lot of time without knowing. You will lose a lot of time without knowing, especially because you have to travel, and depending on where you're living, if you're living a bit far from school, up to 45 minutes to an hour, it's going to be a lot of travel time. So ask yourself, do I wake up very early and head to school, study in the library or in class, depending on the availability of resources or facilities? Do I wake up very early, go to school, start studying, and then when it's time for class, you go for your class? Or do I wake up early, study at home, and then when it's time for class, I transit to class, and then I run back home to study? Or after classes, am I going to go to the library to study? So plan your time, plan your schedule based on the resources you have. Take into consideration travel time, because by the time you travel to school and then travel back, you'll be tired. And if you're not the kind of person that can easily have a nap or siesta, then you may not want to travel all the way back to the house before you consider studying. Maybe after classes, you can just move to the study area or the library to see if you can get familiar with your notes, what was discussed in class, and then download the reading materials and start forming your notes as early as possible. So I cannot really tell you what to do. Mine was different because it was online, so all I did was to wake up, prepare for class, attend class, at the end of the class have a little rest, and then see 1 or 2 things you have to study, or if there is a task that you have to prepare for the next class, you get that going. But you guys will be different because you have to go to school, you have to transit, so take that into consideration. The next point I have here is that you should break down your study into smaller steps. Okay, for instance, I'm just going to use one course as an example. You're taking a course that is 30 credit unit, and like I already said in the other video where I gave a breakdown of like an outline of the entire postgraduate program, like entire 1 year postgraduate program in UK. I already said that if you're taking a 30 credit unit, it means it's a huge course, and you'll probably have up to 2 or 3 lectures per week, up to 4.5 hours. Okay, so for instance, you would also have like 10 topics for that course. So you have to divide the task into smaller steps. Okay, divide your studies into smaller steps. Okay, for instance, the first day of the lectures, am I going to take note of all the essential reading materials, download all of them, and then skim through? You cannot tell yourself that you're going to be able to read all these materials for every topic. It may not be possible, but it's advisable that you at least skim through the essential material so you have an idea of what's going to be discussed in that topic, the main points in that topic. When you open your modules, each topic for a week would have an outline and an outcome. So at the end of that week, this is what you're supposed to know. What you should be doing before your classes is to skim through the essential materials to pick out points that would answer some of the outcomes in that topic for the week. And then you have to go download the materials, because most of the time these essential materials are not attached as PDFs. So some of them are depending on the lecturer. Sometimes the lecturer will upload these documents and all you need to do is just download. Other times you have to go to these databases to search for these documents. So you have to divide these steps in little, this task in little steps. Okay, so for each course you're going to have to attend classes, you're going to have to download reading materials, you're going to have to read through the reading materials and then make your own notes. You're going to also revise those notes, your points, your notes before the exams, and then shortly before the exams you probably go through the past questions. So you have to take note of this broad steps, or this broad idea, this broad steps you have to take for each of the courses. Then you're now going to divide it based on how you can take, you can carry it. Don't think you're going to be able to do everything at the same time. So for instance, this week I'm going to download all my materials and make sure that I save them very well. Next week I'm going to read through all these materials and take out the relevant points in each of these materials. And then because in Premier University we have basically 11 weeks in a term, and then the 6th week is always a reading week, which is no lectures, just a reading week. So the reading week is not a week that you should go and start downloading materials, because it will waste your time. Downloading materials are a huge lot of work. So when you don't feel like, oh, I'm in the mood to study, it's a perfect time to skim and download materials, because you don't need to really put so much effort to download these materials. You're not trying to read them, you're just trying to download them. So you download these materials. Also, if you know a colleague of yours who is always downloading materials, maybe you don't have the time. Somebody like me, I didn't like that issue of downloading materials. And I had a colleague who knew how to download materials from week 1 to the end. So usually I'll just ask, have you downloaded all the materials for the week? And if he says yes, I collect the materials. Like, why do I have to duplicate the efforts? So basically, that is what I'm trying to say. Break down your task into smaller steps. That way it's going to help you decide when you're going to download materials, decide when you're going to you just skim through the materials, decide when you're going to do an in-depth study, making your notes. Usually when I am in class, I try to make my notes. I try to type to just get down important points that the lecturer have said, because there's going to be a lot to discuss in a topic, and whatever points your lecturer inserts in the slide is very important. Okay, so you just take note of the points that has been mentioned in class, the questions that have been asked, the parts that your lecturer seems really interested in. You take notes and take that into consideration, knowing that you're going to focus on those areas. The next productivity point I have is write down questions when studying and take notes in classes. I think I've already talked about taking notes in classes. So write down questions when you're studying. For instance, if you're studying before the class, before the topic is discussed in class, you may get to some points where you will not really understand what they're trying to say, or maybe it's confusing, it's counterproductive. Maybe you've seen a point that says A, you've now seen another one that says B, trying to counter A and another, and it's confusing. Take note of these points, because when you are in class, there are two things that will happen. It is either during lectures your lecturer addresses this confusion, or they don't. And if they don't, it is in your place to raise the question and say, okay, excuse me, professor, during my study I read this, I read that, and I feel like it's really confusing, or I'm confused, or is counterproductive to what you have just said. Can you clarify? And then your lecturer will clarify. Because if you just see something you don't understand and you leave it, you skip it, it might come to haunt you much later. The professor may not be able to cover every single thing in that topic, but if you bring it up, trust me, they will address it. So that way you know that you are trashing every confusion as the lectures are going on, so that when it's time to study, when it's time to prepare for exams, you know that you're clear about everything. Is just to revise and get ready for the exams. So another productivity point I have here for you guys is you must not attend all events. Save some time for yourself. I'm saying this because I know how overwhelming it was having to study online and having to attend webinars, networking events, trainings, drop-in sessions online. There were so many events. In fact, it is like that in a university, in a UK university. There would be so many events. The library will be organizing something, careers enterprise will be organizing something, your department will be organizing something, your association will be organizing something. Sometimes, like, you may have up to 3 extracurricular events in a day. You have to choose, which one am I going to attend? Which one is going to give me the best value? A lot of times you would hear people advise that you attend networking events. Yes, attending networking events are very good because the network you build during your postgraduate studies is very important for your future life and career. But you have to identify which of these events are you going to attend, okay? Especially if it is a recurrent event. Then you can decide, okay, I'm going to attend it this week. I'm not going to attend it next week. Next week, you can swap it for another event. Try not to just go for every single thing, especially because things are going to happen on campus this time around. You're going to be going to school for your lectures. After lectures, networking with your colleagues, like I said, and there may be events too in school. So decide, which one am I going to attend? Which one am I going to skip? So that you know that I have to save some time to study, because by the time you end up attending all the events in that day, you will definitely be exhausted and you'll come back home tired. But if it's a Friday, why not give it a go? If it's a Friday, do whatever you feel like, because you deserve to rest as well, and there's the weekend thereafter. So just take your time, look at the events that are going to help you. The recurrent ones, try not to attend them every single time. Create time for yourself and make the best out of it. So the next point I have is don't follow the crowd. I know why I'm saying this. During your program, you're going to meet people from diverse countries, depending on the country you're studying and the school. If you come to Queen Mary, you would probably meet people from all over the world. This is going to be really interesting for you because you guys are going to get to know each other. You're going to want to build that rapport, that relationship, which I think is absolutely necessary. Please try to do that. Connect with your colleagues, build meaningful relationships and all of that. Following that means that after classes, you guys would have to hang out for coffee, you guys will have to attend events together, you guys will have to go shopping together and do stuff together. And most of the time, especially the first 1 or 2 months into resumption, after class, you will see one person, let's hang out, let's go have lunch, let's go have dinner, let's go have breakfast, let's have coffee. These things are important. But just in line with the last point, I said don't attend all events. Try not to follow the crowd. It's not every single time you have to go out, okay? So during my time, we had physical lectures very few times, and all the days that we had these physical lectures, after lectures, my colleagues always wanted to hang out. They always wanted to have coffee or lunch, depending on the time. And it was an amazing idea. But sometimes you look at your routine and you know that I cannot make it. Sometimes these people are just coming to school to attend one class, and after that class, they do whatever they like. Sometimes you may have 3 classes to attend, and then you attend 3 classes and you still want to follow them. They still have time. It's either they may have studied in the morning before coming to school and all of that, but maybe that day for you was really choked up. You came early, you didn't even have time to study, you attended classes and you don't have a lot of time. It's not every single time you have to follow people out. It's not every single time you have to attend that outing, that meetup, that coffee, that whatever. You have to You have to just determine, okay, I'm going to do it today, I'm not going to do it tomorrow. Oh, I'm sorry, today is not a very good time. Let's do it some other time. Politely decline and no bad blood, okay? Nobody will be hurt, because if you say yes to every single invitation, you're the one that will lose at the end, and you can't blame anyone, because they'll say, in fact, you won't even be able to tell anyone because you will blame yourself. You will know that you did it to yourself and it was something you could have controlled, but you were not able to control it. So that's what I'm going to say. The next point I have here is know your deadlines, work towards them, okay? Sometimes you could be overwhelmed and forget your deadline. Other times you may not even know you have deadlines. So I give an instance. There was a course that I took, and after we selected, I think we had lectures for almost 3 weeks. We had lectures for almost 3 weeks with the professor, and it was online. And then the first tutorial class we had to go to school, and the tutorial lecturer was different from the professor. I already knew, everyone knew that this course is going to be graded with an essay, but we didn't know that we needed to select the essay topic within a specific time. We just thought that it's going to be at the end of the 10 weeks lectures. I think it was like week 4. We went to school. They had, we had the tutorial. We were just discussing the earlier topics we had discussed, and then it was time to discuss the essay, because we had a particular session where we started discussing the essay and the requirements. And then the tutorial lecturer says, guys, you have about 2 weeks to submit your essay topics so that the professor will approve it. Before we haven't even gone halfway into this class, and you're saying that I'm still trying to find my footing. You're saying I have an essay and I have a deadline to submit. We were all very surprised in class. We had just 2 weeks to look for a topic, and you know what that means? An essay that is between 5,000 to 7,000 words. You have to choose a topic that you're really interested in if you must get the best out of that essay. Man, it was chaos. Like, we were all confused. That was when we started looking for essays, because if we had known ahead of time, right from week 1, we would be listening to the lectures and looking at the topics, just trying to see, what areas am I interested in to pick my essay topic. We wouldn't have to, within 2 weeks, just all of a sudden look for a topic somewhere. So know your deadlines for each courses. Are you going to have a midterm assessment? When is it going to take place? When is the examinations deadline? There are courses that, apart from midterm like tests, you may have essays as well. So when is the submission deadline? Another thing I would advise is, when you know your submission deadlines, for instance, you're taking 4 courses or 3 courses this term, and the 3 of them are going to be graded almost on, for instance, the exam is today, the 2 essays are tomorrow. When you know your deadline ahead of time, you'll be able to plan towards it and break the steps, like I said, break the task into little steps. Another thing is, you can decide, I'm going to finish the first essay 2 weeks earlier so that I can concentrate on the second one. On a last note, you can as well decide if you're going to seek an extension. And usually, to seek an extension of deadline, they also have the opening and closing periods where you can also submit your extension. Imagine you didn't know your deadline, first of all, and then you knew your deadline, or you didn't know the deadline for extension request. And you say, I'm going to apply for extension, or I'm going to apply for extension, or you say, I'm going to be able to meet up, but you're not able to work towards it. You're not able to meet up the deadline, and at the dying minute you're like, I want to apply for extension, but then turning to apply, extension deadline is over. You don't want that. You really don't want that. So know your deadlines, divide your task into little steps, and see if you can work towards it. If you genuinely know that you are not able to work towards this deadline, please seek an extension. That the 2 weeks we had to choose a topic, some people were not able to meet the 2 weeks, and they quickly sent the professor an email explaining their circumstances, and they got an extension. But for those if you don't send an email ahead of time, if you wait until the last day, the deadline itself, and then you send an email, it's too late already. You don't want the consequences that you're not prepared for, okay? So let's move on to the next point. The next one I'm going to share for you to be able to manage your time and for productivity during your program is shop groceries in bulk. I know what it means. Shop groceries in bulk. When you're every single time you go to school, you come back, you stop by a supermarket. you stop by a shop, you want to shop. Shopping takes time. Shopping takes some of your time. It could take from 30 minutes to 1 hour, depending on where you are and where you want to shop. So try to shop in bulk. For instance, if you love to cook, buy your groceries at least once a week or once in 2 weeks, if possible, once a month, so that even if you go back to a store, you're not going to want to shop a lot of things. Okay? If you make your list, buy stuff that are going to last you for about a month. Even if you run out of some items, you're just going to walk into a store and pick 1 or 2 or 3 items at the most, and not having to go and start shopping all over again every single time. So try to shop in bulk. It's going to help you. It's going to save your time. And the last but not the least point I have here is avoid long travels during weekdays. For instance, if you have lectures almost every day of the week, avoid traveling outside, probably outside London, during the week, because it's very exhausting. Traveling can be very exhausting, okay? So maybe you can keep your weekends for all of that. You will need to focus during the week. So even if you have free days, those are the perfect days within the week for you to study, because there's this thing that just comes with weekend. Weekend has a spirit. You will say, oh, I'm going to do it over the weekend. See, when the weekend comes, all you're thinking about is where to go out for fun, where to have fun, where to sightsee, where to meet friends. That's just what the weekend does to you. It has a spirit. It has a spirit, because I remember most of the time when I used to shift my work, I say, okay, I'll do it over the weekend. I'll do it. See, the weekend will come, and by Sunday 9 p.m., you will realize that the weekend is over, and you're like, I haven't actually done anything this week other than just have fun and just hang out. Because that's what the weekend does to you. From Monday to Friday is for you to study. So if you can't do that, you can't do it during the weekend, okay? Especially if you're somebody that likes, to study in a school environment. A lot of people in your accommodation, be studying during the weekend, and just do that, okay? Try to avoid long travels, because it takes a lot of time. It takes your time, it distracts you, and you're going to be spending a lot of time on the road, and you may not be able to achieve a lot of things. I think I've basically covered most things, and the thing is, productivity is individual based. You have to know yourself. You have to know what makes you productive. Do you have to wake up first, very in the early hours of the morning to study? Will you assimilate better? Go for it. Are you a late night person? Are you a midnight person? Are you the kind of person that if everyone is not asleep, you cannot study? Go for it. Try to define your routine based on who you are and how things work for you, okay? And the first weeks are going to be confusing because you're still trying to get used to the environment. But towards the second and, once you enter your 4th week, you should be able to have your routine at the tip of your finger, your timetable at the tip of your finger. You should be able to say no to an invite at the tip of your finger without having to say, oh, let me check my routine. But if possible, if you want to check your routine, please go for it. Have your calendars in your phones such that whatever happens, you can see your routine. If your day is already choked up, if you had planned to study today, whatever you need to do so that it won't clash with your studies. It is your studies that brought you here first. For me, I would say that I was really kind of distracted with my YouTube channel because I always tried to post every week, which I did. Yeah, it was a bit distracting. It also robbed me of some social activities because I couldn't go out sometimes because I needed to post videos. So know your priorities. What are your priorities? And try to balance it out, okay? I hope this video has been helpful to you guys, and if you have any questions, drop it in the comment section. If you also have productivity tips that you think other people can benefit from, do also drop it in the comment section. If this is your second time on this channel, you've watched the first video, you've watched the second video, and you are yet to subscribe, come on now, subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell. Also follow me on Instagram at @IamKuskus. I'll catch you guys in my next video. Bye. If you have free days, those are the perfect days. Sorry.